They thought the pastor's wife was holy, until a church cleaner found the book that decided who lived and who died. On the last page was her own name, written as next. Long ago, there stood a church that people from far and near came to worship in. The church was respected, and its pastor, Reverend Kola, was seen as a man of God. But even more respected was his wife, Mama Abik. Mama Abik was known for her headscarves that touched her shoulders and her soft voice that always quoted scripture. To the people, she was a holy woman, the very example of virtue. They said she fasted more than anyone, prayed longer than anyone, and had the power to see visions. But beneath the songs and the prayers, whispers lived in the walls of that church. Some cleaners swore that when they stayed late, they heard voices that were not human. They said they saw shadows move, even when no one was there. Most dismissed it as imagination. But one young woman, a cleaner named Ifyananya, would come to learn that the whispers were true. It all began one night when Ifyananya was sweeping under the pulpit, and the harmattan wind pushed open a drawer that was never supposed to be opened. Ifyananya was the youngest of the church cleaners, just 20 years old, strong in spirit, but with a curious mind that often got her into trouble. That evening, she had stayed behind after choir practice to sweep. The church was empty, save for the sound of the harmattan wind slipping through the cracks. As she bent low to sweep under the pulpit, a sudden breeze pushed against a wooden drawer that was part of the pastor's lectern. It slid open with a creak. Inside, wrapped in faded white cloth, was a thick black book. The book looked ancient, with leather so dry it cracked at the edges. On its cover was a single word carved in red, next. Ifyananya froze. Her heart pounded like talking drums in her chest. She stretched her hand toward it, but quickly pulled back. Something about the book felt alive. Just as she was about to close the drawer, a shadow moved across the wall, though no one was there. And then, clear as day, she heard a whisper in the empty church. "Do not touch what you cannot carry." Ifyananya dropped her broom and stumbled backward. She wanted to run, but her legs betrayed her. And then she remembered. Everyone said Mama Abik always locked that drawer herself. Why would the pastor's holy wife keep such a book in the house of God? The following morning, the church bustled with worshippers preparing for Sunday service. Ifyananya kept glancing at the pulpit, her mind heavy with the memory of the black book. She tried to convince herself it was just a strange dream, but the voice, that whisper, still rang in her ears. Then, she noticed something unsettling. Mama Abik was watching her. From across the church, the pastor's wife's eyes lingered on her every move. Mama Abik's face carried its usual calm smile, but Ifyananya could not shake the feeling that those eyes were sharper than knives. Later, as the women prepared for service, Mama Abik approached her. "My daughter," she said in her soft, syrupy voice. "You cleaned well yesterday, did you not?" Ifyananya nodded nervously. "Yes, Ma." Mama Abik leaned closer, her perfume thick with the smell of hibiscus. She whispered so only Ifyananya could hear. "Next time, do not open what is not meant for your eyes." Ifyananya's stomach turned cold. She had told no one about the book. No one. How then did Mama Abik know? That night, Ifyananya could not sleep. Her mind kept circling back to Mama Abik's words. "Do not open what is not meant for your eyes." By the third crow of the rooster, she made up her mind. She had to know what was inside that book. The next evening, she stayed behind again. When the last worshipper left, she crept to the pulpit. Her hands trembled as she pulled the drawer open. The black book sat there, waiting, as though it knew she would return. She unwrapped the cloth and opened it. Inside, names were written in neat, careful handwriting. Each page had just one name, written in bold letters, followed by a date. Some names were already crossed out in red ink. Her eyes widened as she flipped through. These weren't just random names. They were names of people from the church. She saw Sister Ngozi, who had died mysteriously last year. Brother Samuel, who collapsed during prayers. Even Elder Bamadil, who had passed in his sleep. All their names were listed, and each had been crossed out days before their death. And then, on the very last page, her breath caught in her throat. There, written in red ink, was her own name. Ifyananya, next. Ifunania's hands shook so violently the book almost slipped from her grip. Her name stared back at her, glowing in the dim lantern light like a curse carved into her soul. Her chest tightened, and sweat soaked her back. "No, no, it cannot be," she whispered, slamming the book shut. Just then, the church bell outside rang once, though no one was there to pull it. The sound echoed like a warning. She stumbled back, gasping for air. Every instinct screamed at her to run, but her feet felt chained to the ground. At that moment, she heard footsteps. Slow, steady, approaching the pulpit. Ifunania shoved the book back into the drawer, wrapping it in its cloth. She grabbed her broom, pretending to sweep as though nothing had happened. The footsteps grew louder until Mama Abik's figure appeared in the doorway, her white headscarf glowing faintly in the moonlight. "My daughter." Mama Abik's voice was calm, too calm. "Do you believe everything you see?" Ifunania dropped her broom, her lips trembling. "And Mama, please, what is happening?" Mama Abik smiled, her teeth white against the shadows. "Child," she whispered, "the book does not lie, and you must prepare, for your name was next." Ifunania's knees weakened at Mama Abik's words. She wanted to scream, but no sound left her throat. "I am not ready to die," she finally choked out, tears filling her eyes. Mama Abik tilted her head, her calm smile never breaking. "No one is ever ready, child. Death is not a thief, it is a visitor. And when the book calls, the door must be opened." Ifunania fell to the ground, clinging to Mama Abik's wrapper. "Please, Mama, if I have offended you, forgive me. If it is the book, then remove my name." But Mama Abik pulled her wrapper away gently, like a mother who had already given her child to fate. "The book does not forgive. The book only speaks." Then she leaned close, her breath cold in Ifunania's ear. "3 sunsets remain. On the 3rd night, you will breathe your last." The words sank into Ifunania's heart like poison. 3 days. 3 days to live. But deep inside her spirit, another voice rose, stronger than her fear. "No, I will not die. Not like this. If this book holds power, then it must also have weakness." She wiped her tears, trembling but determined. If the book had written her death, then she would write her own survival. The following morning, Ifunania did not go home. Instead, she wandered to the edge of Orogan, where the old palm trees bent low as if guarding secrets. There, she sought out Mama Chinyar, the village herbalist and midwife, known for her wisdom and sharp tongue. Mama Chinyar was grinding herbs when Ifunania arrived, her wrinkled hands steady despite her age. She looked up with eyes that seemed to see more than the present. "You carry fear on your back, child," she said before Ifunania even spoke. "Sit. Tell me what hunts you." Ifunania poured out everything: the black book, the names, the deaths, and the dreadful truth that her name was written next. For a long while, Mama Chinyar was silent, only stirring the pot before her. Then she muttered, "Ah, so the whispers were true. The pastor's wife guards the book of death." Ifunania's eyes widened. "You know of it?" Mama Chinyar nodded slowly. "That book has traveled through generations. It chooses hands that look holy but are stained in blood. Wherever it rests, people die before their time." Ifunania's voice trembled. "Then what do I do? How do I stop it?" Mama Chinyar leaned closer, her voice dropping to a whisper. "To break the chain, you must do what no one has dared. You must steal the book. Only then will the truth be revealed." Ifunania's heart pounded. To steal from Mama Abik? From the church itself? It was madness. But with 3 sunsets left, madness was her only hope. That night, Ifunania sat in her small room, staring at the flickering lantern. Her broom leaned in the corner, and her mat felt colder than ever. Mama Chinyar's words echoed in her mind. To break the chain, you must steal the book. Her chest tightened with fear, but she knew she had no choice. If she did nothing, death would come for her. If she acted, at least she had a chance. She began to plan. The church was always locked after evening prayers, but she had been a cleaner long enough to know where the spare key was hidden, under the old stone behind the vestry. She decided she would go at midnight, when the town slept deepest. She would take the book, run straight to Mama Chinyar, and destroy whatever evil bound it. But as she whispered the plan to herself, a gust of wind pushed through her window, blowing out the lantern. In the darkness, she thought she heard it again, the same chilling voice from the church. Do not touch what you cannot carry. Iphigenia clutched her chest, trembling. Her breath fogged in the night air, though the harmattan cold was not yet strong enough to cause it. She forced herself to stay still, whispering a prayer under her breath. Then she lifted her head and spoke aloud, her voice firmer than before. If my name is written, then I will rewrite it. Let death come if it dares. The wind died down. Silence returned. Her mind was set. At midnight, she would face the book. The town of Orogan slept under a sky heavy with stars. Dogs barked in the distance, but soon even they grew silent. Midnight had come. Iphigenia wrapped her wrapper tightly around her body and slipped out of her room. Every step toward the church felt like she was walking into the jaws of a beast. When she reached the churchyard, the air felt different, thicker, colder. The building stood in the moonlight, its tall cross casting a long shadow that seemed to bend toward her. She crept to the side of the vestry, knelt, and pulled away the old stone. Just as she remembered, the spare key lay hidden beneath it. Her hand shook as she picked it up. The heavy wooden door creaked open, and she slipped inside. The moment she crossed the threshold, the air shifted. The familiar scent of polish and candles was gone, replaced by the sharp, choking smell of iron and smoke. The church was darker than she had ever seen it. Shadows moved along the walls as though alive. She gripped her broom like a staff and whispered, I will not fear. Step by step, she walked to the pulpit. The drawer stood before her. With trembling fingers, she pulled it open. The black book sat there, waiting, as though it had been expecting her. But just as her hand reached for it, the church bell rang loudly above her, 3 times. She froze. Her heart hammered. Someone else was inside the church. And slowly, from the back of the sanctuary, a figure emerged. It was Mama Abik. Iphigenia's breath caught in her throat. Mama Abik glided down the aisle, her white headscarf glowing faintly in the moonlight that filtered through the stained glass windows. She did not walk like an ordinary woman. Her steps made no sound, as though the floorboards feared her. My daughter. Mama Abik's soft voice echoed unnaturally, filling every corner of the church. Why do you return to the drawer that does not belong to you? Iphigenia stepped back, clutching her broom with both hands. Because I refused to die, Mama. I saw my name. You wrote it. You cannot hide the truth. Mama Abik smiled faintly, her teeth catching the moonlight. I do not write the names, child. The book writes itself. I am only its keeper. If the book is cursed, Iphigenia's voice shook but did not break, then I will break it. Mama Abik's smile vanished. Her eyes darkened like storm clouds. Foolish girl, do you think you can fight what has ruled generations? The book does not bend to the will of man. It chooses. It takes. And it has already chosen you. The church grew colder, the shadows stretching long and thin across the floor. The bell tolled again, this time by itself, and the stained glass rattled in its frame. Iphigenia lifted her chin, fear burning into defiance. Then tonight I choose myself. If death wants me, let it fight for me. For the first time, Mama Abik's calm mask cracked. Her eyes narrowed. Then come, child. Touch the book, if you are not afraid to see your end. The black book sat between them on the pulpit, glowing faintly, as though waiting for its rightful master. The church was silent, save for the faint rustle of the harmattan wind pressing against the windows. The black book rested on the pulpit, heavy with power, its cover almost pulsing like a living heart. Iphigenia's hand trembled as she reached toward it. Behind her, Mama Abik's voice slithered through the air. Touch it, child, and you will belong to it forever. Her fingers brushed the cracked leather. A jolt shot through her arm, like fire and ice twisting together. For a moment, her vision blurred, and she saw flashes, faces of people crying, graves being dug, candles burning low. She almost pulled away, but then she remembered her own name written in red. No, she whispered through gritted teeth. I will not be next. With a cry, she seized the book and pulled it to her chest. Instantly, the church erupted. The windows shook, candles flared to life on their own. and the bell above clanged wildly though no rope moved. Mama Abik hissed, her calm voice now replaced with something darker, deeper. "Fool! You have broken the order." Ifeananya staggered back, clutching the book tighter. To her shock, the pages flipped open on their own, stopping on her name. But this time the letters bled, dripping as though alive. Her breath caught. The ink moved, slowly, painfully, until it formed new words beneath her name. The keeper must fall for the chosen to rise. Ifeanyanya's eyes widened. The book was not only a curse. It was also a guide. She looked up at Mama Abik, whose eyes now burned red in the shadows. For the first time, Ifeananya realized, to survive, she must defeat the pastor's wife. The church groaned as though alive, its walls echoing with invisible cries. Candles flickered violently, throwing long shadows across the floor. Mama Abik's calm face was gone. Her scarf slipped back, revealing hair as black as midnight, whipping in a wind that did not touch Ifeananya. Her voice, no longer soft, thundered like drums in the deep forest. "You dare challenge the keeper? Foolish child." She raised her hand, and the shadows on the wall slithered toward Ifeananya like snakes. The young cleaner stumbled back, clutching the book tightly. The pages fluttered wildly until one stopped, glowing faintly with strange markings. She could not understand the words, but her spirit felt their power. "If the book chose me," she whispered, her voice trembling, "then it will fight for me." She slammed her hand on the page. A sudden burst of light erupted from the book, blasting the shadows back. Mama Abik screamed, covering her face. Ifeanyanya's courage rose. She lifted the book high, and with each step forward, the church trembled as though something ancient had woken. But Mama Abik was not finished. She reached into the air and pulled, and from the very darkness, a long, jagged staff appeared in her hand. Her eyes glowed like fireflies at midnight. "You may hold the book," she growled, "but only one can be its master." Ifeanyanya's heart thundered. She was no warrior, just a church cleaner. But with the book burning hot in her hands, she knew she could not run. In the middle of the sanctuary, under the silent cross, the battle began. Mama Abik swung her jagged staff, and the floor split where it struck, sending splinters flying. Ifeananya stumbled back, clutching the black book to her chest. The book pulsed with heat, its pages glowing faintly. Words began to form across the parchment, as though written by an invisible hand. Ifeanyanya's eyes darted to them. "Call the names, they will answer." Her breath caught. She flipped quickly to a page. The first name she saw was Elder Bamadil, the elder who had died mysteriously months ago. Desperate, she shouted it aloud. The air shifted. A cold wind swept through the sanctuary, and for a moment, a shadowy figure appeared beside her, a tall man, his form faint but strong. It was Elder Bamadil's spirit. He lifted his hand, and Mama Abik staggered backward as if struck by a mighty blow. Ifeanyanya's heart pounded. "The dead," she whispered. "The book binds them." She turned another page and cried, "Sister Ngozi." A woman's spirit appeared, her voice like a wail, circling Mama Abik and driving her into the center of the church. The pastor's wife screamed, her staff flaring with dark fire. "You dare use them against me?" But Ifeanyanya's fear was gone now, replaced by fire in her spirit. "You killed them. You chose who lived and who died. Now they will choose you." The spirits pressed closer, their cries shaking the roof. Mama Abik swung her staff wildly, but for the first time, she looked afraid. And in the chaos, Ifeananya saw it clearly written in the book, glowing in red ink. "Only the blood of the keeper can end the curse." The church shook as if thunder lived within its walls. The spirits swirled, their cries filling the air with sorrow and rage. Ifeananya held the book tightly, her eyes fixed on the glowing words. "Only the blood of the keeper can end the curse." Her hands trembled. She understood what it meant. Mama Abik had to fall. The pastor's wife raised her staff high, her voice twisting like 1,000 tongues. "You cannot kill me, child. I am the chosen vessel. Without me, the book cannot live." But the book itself began to resist her. Its glow weakened in her direction and pulsed brighter in Ifeanyanya's hands. The spirits pressed closer, as if waiting for her command. "Mama Abik," Ifyinanya cried, her voice echoing across the sanctuary. Your holiness was a mask. You fed the book with lives, but now it demands yours. Mama Abik screamed and rushed forward, her staff crashing against the pulpit, splitting it into pieces. Sparks flew, and shadows lashed out like whips. Ifyinanya flipped to her own page in the book. Her name still burned in red, Ifyinanya, next. But beneath it, new words carved themselves before her eyes. Strike the keeper, and the chosen shall be free. Her chest tightened. She was no killer. She had never even harmed a chicken. Yet the faces of the dead stared at her from the glowing pages, whispering, urging. She lifted the book like a shield as Mama Abik charged. At the last moment, a sharp piece of broken wood from the pulpit slid at her feet. Ifyinanya's hand closed around it. She realized the truth. The battle could only end with blood. Mama Abik lunged, her staff blazing with dark fire. Ifyinanya raised the book to block the strike. The impact shook the sanctuary, sending cracks racing up the walls. The spirits wailed louder, their cries rising like drums of war. Elder Bamadil's voice boomed through the chaos. Strike, child. Strike before your breath is stolen. Ifyinanya gripped the sharp wood tighter, her knuckles white. Mama Abik swung again, and this time, Ifyinanya dodged, rolling across the broken floor. The book glowed hot in her arm, guiding her steps. She rose, heart thundering, and with every ounce of strength she had left, she drove the wooden shard into Mama Abik's side. A scream tore through the church, so loud it rattled the stained glass windows until they shattered, raining down shards of colored glass. Mama Abik staggered back, her staff falling from her hand, dissolving into smoke. Her blood hit the ground, and at once the book flared open, pages burning with light. The names written inside began to glow, one after the other, then slowly faded away. The chains binding the spirits broke, and they lifted their heads to the heavens, their cries turning into songs of release. Mama Abik's eyes blazed red one last time. You cannot kill the book. It will find another keeper, she rasped before collapsing into the shadows. The church grew still. The air grew warm again. The spirits faded, leaving only silence. Ifyinanya fell to her knees, the bloody shard still in her hand, the book heavy against her chest. Her name was gone from its pages. She had survived, but as the last candle flickered out, she heard the faintest whisper from the book, softer than breath. A keeper has fallen. Another shall rise. The church was in ruins. Shattered glass covered the floor, the pulpit was broken, and the once holy place smelled of blood and smoke. Ifyinanya sat in the middle of it all, the book heavy in her lap. Its cover no longer glowed, but it pulsed faintly, like a sleeping heart. Her hands shook. The whisper still lingered in her ears. A keeper has fallen. Another shall rise. Did that mean her? No, she muttered, pushing it away. But the book clung to her fingers, as though it refused to be abandoned. She dropped it once, twice, yet each time it landed at her feet. Tears welled in her eyes. She had won, yet she felt no victory. If Mama Abik was right, the book could never die. It only passed on, and now it had chosen her. By dawn, the first worshippers would come, and they would see the broken church, the lifeless body of their pastor's wife, and Ifyinanya holding the forbidden book. Who would believe her story? Who would not call her the witch instead? She clutched her chest, her breath shallow. She had three choices: destroy the book, hide it, or embrace it. But in her spirit, she knew the book could not be destroyed by fire or blade. Its curse was older than both. Suddenly, the church door creaked open. A voice whispered from outside, "Ifyinanya." She froze. It was Mama Chinyere. Mama Chinyere stepped into the ruined church, leaning on her staff. Her eyes scanned the shattered glass, the broken pulpit, and finally the lifeless form of Mama Abik. She sighed deeply. "So, it has happened," she murmured. Ifyinanya rose shakily, clutching the book. "Mama, I killed her. I had no choice. But this book," her voice cracked, "it will not leave me. It says another keeper must rise. Does that mean me?" Mama Chinyere looked at the book with sorrow. "Child, you carry a burden older than your blood. That is no ordinary book. It was forged long ago, before Orogan was built, before even your grandfather's fathers were born. She walked closer, her voice heavy with history. The Book of Death was created by a coven of priests who thought they could master fate. They wrote the names of those to die, believing it would give them power over life. But they were wrong. The book began to write itself. It demanded blood, keeper after keeper, generation after generation. Ifinanya trembled. So Mama Abik was not the first? No, Mama Chinyur shook her head. There were many before her, each one holy in the eyes of people, but corrupted by the book's hand. And each time, the keeper's fall only passed the curse to another. Ifinanya's chest tightened. Then it has chosen me. Mama Chinyur's eyes met hers, sharp and unblinking. Not yet. The book clings to the one who killed the keeper. But there is still a way to break the chain, if you are brave enough. Ifinanya's breath quickened. Tell me, Mama, what must I do? Mama Chinyur leaned closer, her whisper colder than the harmattan wind. You must return it to the place where it was born. Ifinanya followed Mama Chinyur out of the church, just as the first light of dawn touched the sky. She carried the book wrapped tightly in cloth, but even through the fabric she felt its pulse, steady and alive. They walked through narrow paths, past huts still asleep, into the edge of the forest where the air grew damp and heavy. Mama Chinyur's staff tapped against the earth with each step. The book was born in the Forbidden Grove, the old woman explained, her voice hushed. A place where men once bargained with spirits of the deep earth. Few dare to go there now. It is said those who enter never return the same. Ifinanya swallowed hard. And if I do not return it? Mama Chinyur stopped and fixed her with piercing eyes. Then you will become what Mama Abik was, a keeper. At first, you will resist. But the book will whisper, and soon you will write names, thinking you do God's work. Then it will no longer be your hand, but its own. And Orogan will bury you like the others. Ifinanya shivered. She tightened her grip on the cloth-wrapped book. Then I will not let it claim me. Show me the way. By nightfall, they reached the mouth of the grove. The trees there twisted unnaturally, their branches blackened as though scorched by fire. No birds sang. The silence was so heavy it pressed against their skin. Mama Chinyur stopped. I cannot enter. My time is nearly gone. Only you can walk into that place, for the book has chosen you. Ifinanya's breath trembled. Alone, she stepped into the grove. The moment her foot crossed the boundary, the trees groaned as though they recognized her. And from the shadows, voices began to chant softly. Keeper, keeper, keeper. The deeper Ifinanya walked into the grove, the darker it became. The trees twisted overhead, blocking out the moonlight. The chanting grew louder, surrounding her from every side. Keeper, keeper, keeper. She clutched the book tighter, her knees trembling. Suddenly, pale figures began to emerge from the shadows. Dozens of them, men and women in torn robes, their faces hollow but familiar. Her breath caught. She recognized them. Elder Bamadil, Sister Ngozi, even strangers whose names she had seen written in the book. You should not be here, Elder Bamadil's spirit spoke, his voice echoing. You should have accepted your place. I do not want this, Ifinanya cried. Take the book, take it back. I will not be the keeper. But the spirits shook their heads in unison. The book does not return easily. It must be fed before it sleeps again. Her chest tightened. Fed? With what? The book pulsed violently in her hands, its pages flipping open on their own. A single line of red letters burned across the parchment. The blood of the chosen, or the book shall remain. Ifinanya gasped. It wants my life. The spirits closed in, chanting louder. Keeper, keeper, keeper. She fell to her knees, tears burning her eyes. To break the curse, she had to give the book her blood. If she refused, she would carry it forever, cursed like Mama Abik before her. Her heart raced as she looked to the heavens. God, is this my end? Must I die to set others free? The wind in the grove stilled, waiting for her answer. Ifinanya knelt in the heart of the grove, the book pulsing in her hands like a living heart. The spirits circled her, their hollow eyes glowing faintly in the dark. Keeper, 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 they chanted, voices rising like drums before a sacrifice. Her tears fell onto the open page where her name once burned. Now only one command glowed in red. The blood of the chosen, or the book shall remain. Iphigenia's chest heaved. She thought of her mother waiting at home, of the church where she had spent her youth, of the innocent people whose names would be written if she failed. Slowly, she lifted the shard of wood she had carried from the church, the same one that ended Mama Abik. It shook in her grip. "I will not be keeper," she whispered through her tears. "Let this end with me." With trembling hands, she pressed the shard against her palm. Blood flowed, dark and warm, dripping onto the open book. The reaction was instant. The book screamed, not with voice, but with a piercing sound that split the air. Its pages burst into flames, devouring themselves. The spirits wailed, lifting their hands to the sky as chains fell from their bodies. One by one, they dissolved into light, finally free. The grove shook violently, trees bending and cracking. Iphigenia fell backward, her strength fading as the last of her blood soaked the ground. The book burned to ash in her lap, leaving nothing but smoke that rose into the stars. The chanting ceased. Silence returned. And as her vision dimmed, Iphigenia heard one final whisper, not cruel, but gentle this time. "Rest, child. You are the last keeper." Her eyes closed. The grove fell still. By dawn, when Mama Chinyere entered the grove, she found only ashes where the book had been, and Iphigenia's body lying peacefully beneath the trees. From that day, Orogan never spoke of the Book of Death again. But the elders still warned their children. If ever you hear your name whispered in the dark, pray it is not the book that calls you.